Depression, ladies and gentlemen, it's a common medical illness that can be quite serious. Today we're going to talk about what it feels like to have depression, what are some of the causes, and what we can do to hopefully alleviate the symptoms of depression. As someone who's experienced depression, I would describe it as a state where there is absolutely no joy in life. Nothing brings happiness. You've got low motivation, your mood's really bad. Sometimes it comes with a feeling of hopelessness, and more often than not, a lot of depressed people have a lot of anxiety. And to make things worse, it normally comes with a lot of fatigue. You've got low energy, sleep issues, cognitive issues, and in the really bad cases, suicidal thoughts. And I've been through that as well. Now, of course, the severity and the symptoms vary from person to person, but that's generally what a lot of people tend to go through. So let's talk about some of the causes of depression. I would say there are both internal and external factors which can influence the onset of depression. The most common ones we hear about are stressful or traumatic events, which could be, for example, like being diagnosed with a critical illness such as cancer. Other examples are like the loss of a loved one or a loss of somebody you care about or friend. Or it could also be a case of extreme stress. And I had a colleague of mine, for example, who was overloaded with work because he didn't know how to say no and just kept accepting jobs, and eventually he became depressed. Some people also have a genetic predisposition to mental illnesses, so this could also be a factor that encourages depressive states or other kinds of mental disorders. And you'd have to look at someone's family history for that. And in some cases, depression can also be induced, for example, through chemotherapy, which in many cases can affect the brain and cause imbalances or decreases in neurotransmitters. Another factor that influences the onset of depression, I would say, is our diet. And in the modern diet, we tend to eat a lot of sugars, we tend to eat a lot of processed food, and we don't get enough of the essential minerals and vitamins that our body needs to be functioning optimally. So these are just some of the factors that contribute to or cause depression. In fact, there may be some other cases. For example, a friend of mine whose wife became really depressed just because they moved home after living overseas for a number of years, where they felt that life was better or life was ideal where they were at, and then they had to come home. Thankfully, she's okay, but she had to go through a number of therapy sessions and had some medication prescribed for her. Some people also get depressed when they lose their sense of purpose. So, for example, someone who's been doing a particular job for a very, very long time, and then they are unable to do it, maybe because of a disability or they got fired. They lose their routine and they wake up every morning and they don't know what to do. And this would then lead them to plunge into depression. And some other people may also get depressed when they, for example, lose a big sum of money. So the big question is, what can we do to help cope with the symptoms of depression or help alleviate these symptoms? In the case where we have lost our sense of purpose or our dreams have come crashing down on us, then we need to figure ourselves out again and take some time to renew our sense of purpose. Give ourselves new routines. Make sure you have your daily subroutines. This will help you get going. What I'd like to focus on more is the thing that we can control, which is our food intake. So try as much as you can to reduce inflammatory foods, namely sugar and processed foods. And what I found to be really helpful in reducing my symptoms of depression are a number of supplements and vitamins. So the first one being vitamin D3, also known as the sunshine vitamin. And we can get our daily intake of vitamin D just from exposing ourselves to the sun. But a lot of us, I guess, work and live indoors and we don't get enough sun. And a lack of vitamin D has also been linked to depressive symptoms as well. I was taking vitamin D for other reasons, but then I realized that it had an effect on my mental health. I was feeling less depressed. So that was the first one. The next thing I took was fish oil. Fish oil contains a lot of omega-3s, which are great for the heart and brain. And once I started taking fish oil, I realized that my depression reduced even further. At this juncture, I also had a lot of sleep issues. I had been suffering from insomnia for the longest time, and I hadn't found a solution to it until I discovered the next two supplements. The first one being magnesium L-threonate. Now, magnesium comes in many different forms. So you've got magnesium oxide, magnesium chloride, and the one that I found most effective was magnesium L-threonate, which helped me a lot with the anxiety issue. And I don't even take the full recommended dose. The last supplement I want to talk about is zinc, and the form that I take is called zinc picolinate. And I take about 15 to 25 milligrams of zinc per day, together with the other supplements I mentioned before this. One very important thing to look out for in the case of minerals is the elemental value of that mineral. So, for example, if the mineral says zinc chloride, 15 milligrams, this is actually a combination of zinc and chloride, so the amount of elemental zinc that you would get is a lot less than 15 milligrams. If the supplement says zinc, in brackets, as zinc chloride, and it's 15 milligrams, then you should be getting 15 milligrams of zinc. So as long as the supplement lists down the name of the element itself, for example, just like zinc or magnesium, and not its compounded version, then you should be able to plan how much you want to take for each of these supplements and what works best for you. Now, with supplements, I do advise that you take it easy. You don't want to overdo it. You can always start with smaller doses and see how your body benefits from that, and eventually increase or decrease as and when you see fit. I would also recommend getting vitamins and minerals from natural sources where possible. So, for example, in the case of vitamin D3, you can get a little bit more sunshine. And in the case of zinc, you can get a lot from eating oysters or red meat. So these are the supplements that I have found to be extremely helpful in healing my depression. And I have had friends who also have had success with at least fish oil and vitamin D. So if you found this useful, I hope you share this with a friend who might be in need. And with that, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you in the next episode.